Hello, my name is Tyler Holmgren, and I'd like to talk to you about gun control. Gun control is a very serious topic. It it hurt.
You thought I was just gonna stare into the camera the whole time? No, 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 no. Oh, I've got something so much better planned. I'm gonna do something awesome. Okay, it's not gonna be weird. It's not gonna be uncomfortable. It's not gonna be awkward. It's gonna be awesome.
Guns, they shoot, they're expensive as heck, and they're all so cool all the time, except for when they're not, and people die and they're killed by them. Yeah, it's completely fair to say that gun death is not only a bad thing, but has also been kinda rising since the year 2000. The amount of gun deaths in the US, despite being on the rise, is still below the height of early 70s and mid 90s. It's strange, though. Despite the fact that we've all advanced as a society and are generally more sophisticated than our past counterparts, people are still killing each other with guns. It's insane. Around 40,000 people drop dead every year while Elon Musk just sends his car into space. So tell us, critically acclaimed author for the Pew Research Center, John Gramlich, how are we going to solve this? So here along comes the gun debate, dividing people politically over what to do in order to stop this barbaric cycle from happening. Despite what some news sources may try to convince you, virtually everyone agrees that we need to keep the guns out of the hands of the crazy people. And the gun debate really isn't about stopping shootings, more so how we're going to stop shootings. As Andrew Morrill states in his article about gun policy in America, the fact that gun policy debates appear to be grounded in disagreement about the effect of policies rather than about their objectives suggests an important role for the scientific study of guns. So begs the question, how are we going to minimize the amount of fatalities gun deaths causes a year? In order to examine this more closely, I first took a look at why people would own guns in the first place. Early on in my research, I found a little site called the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, which was just a bunch of medical students talking about all the ways guns can kill people, basically. Way back in 2015, they did a huge survey where they asked a bunch of people why they own guns, how many guns they own, have they ever used the gun.
It depends who's asking.
And the article basically says that we find the claim of many millions of annual self-defense gun uses by American citizens is invalid. The article then goes on to say that criminals are never shot by law-abiding citizens in self-defense when sent to the hospital, after working with a prison physician and taking data from 6 different jails across the country. In the survey, they found that less than 1% of the victims of contact crimes, when, criminals try to hurt you or, threaten you, they even used guns in those situations. Of course, there's always the possibility that someone lied on the internet. No. Basically saying that there is no reason to own a gun for self-defense. It's interesting, though. If everyone owns a gun because of self-defense, but rarely use them, why are people still dying? John Gramlich. It always comes back to this guy. But he did write some articles about gun deaths, and that's super useful to me. The article says some information from the CDC, stating that of all the gun deaths in the U.S., 54% is suicide and 43% is murder. And there's a little 3% room for accidents and stuff involving law enforcement. The only good solution for these numbers to go down is getting people who kill people using guns to not be mentally ill, or just to keep the guns out of the people who are mentally ill. Unfortunately, it's not really that easy to do, because there's no particular way for us to know whether a person is mentally stable at the moment or has the possibility of becoming unstable in the future. In this instance, I decided to focus on my own state rather than looking at the entire country. If you look at the Find Law page for Oregon gun control, you can see that Oregon has a relatively looser regulation on gun control.
What on earth could possibly make you say that?
Which is strange, because you'd think that means that people would be dropping like flies in Oregon, but the opposite is true. In fact, Oregon ranks pretty low compared to the other states, according to this article by the CDC. Firearm homicides occur most often in the context of intimate partner violence and gang violence, which completely supports the HICRC article saying that criminals are almost never shot by citizens and are usually shot by other criminals. Perhaps the death by firearm and restrictions of guns holds no correlation. Maybe the actual homicides weren't reported. It could be a number of things, really. Stuck at a dead end, I looked to another place to research. Instead of figuring out how to take guns away from people, what's our plan against someone who already has a gun? For those of you who aren't fans of Homeland Security, such as myself,
We actually prefer the term homies.
they're basically the people who make their living off of worrying about security in just about everything. Over the years, they've released a couple of documents detailing what we're supposed to do when someone with a gun is threatening us. The first of these documents essentially tells you what to do when there's a shooter at a K-12 school.
No wonder they pulled me out of class for this.
Points basically boil down to 1, always the first thing to do should be to call for help. And 2, the school should always have a prepared plan for what to do in this situation. So the school should be fine, just as long as somebody doesn't take down the cell service, and the students just so happen to panic in the situation.
What psychopath wrote this?
But this doesn't do anything but tell me what, is pretty common sense. Of course, schools have already implemented this. So I looked through a different document, still more Homeland, of course, that showed how to respond to an active shooter. The document details a run, hide, fight plan that orders how to respond to an active shooter in the building. Like the last document said, the first course of action should always be to call. If you can't talk because the shooter's nearby, then leave the line open so the dispatcher can figure out what's happening. Next, if you couldn't evacuate, it tells you to hide in a spot that is out of the shooter's view. Obviously, that's what a hiding spot is. And provides cover if you are somehow found. And it is not in a spot where there's nowhere to run afterwards, because then you're just kind of, dead. Then, of course, in a situation where there is literally no other choice and you're going to die, you pretty much just have to charge the shooter and pray that you just incapacitate them. Although this plan makes sense, it's kind of flawed and relies on the idea that someone could be completely logical in a situation where their life is in danger. Unfortunately, though, there's not really much else we can do against shooters with the technology we currently have, and that's the sad reality of it all. The power we have against shooters is practically nothing by the time it happens, which is why people focus so much on taking away the guns in the first place before it happens, because that is the only time we have any power over shooters. I propose a different solution. I think that we should focus on technology that is able to stop us from killing each other. If we're able to send a car into space, if we're able to have lights that turn on at the snap of our fingers, and if we really are able to make guns that, just kill people with the pull of a trigger, I don't see why we can't create technology against that. And because of the human spirit and the human nature, I believe that we can find a way against this by taking advantage of our human brain and our human determination.